So, what had happened the other day is that I was playing Population 1 with two other friends. We had a good time playing as a full squad for a few rounds, and we had learned that one of our friends who had just gotten the quest, and that's why they were playing Pop 1, they had gotten Echo Arena as well, and we felt this was a good, fun thing to introduce them to, so we jumped out of Pop 1, got into Echo, and while he was doing the tutorial, some of us got to talking, and we decided to go into VR chat instead once he finished his tutorial. So none of us played Echo. We actually instead went to VR chat, expecting to play Among Us, since that's like super hot right now. So what happened was we got into VR chat. We were pretty much still full energy at this point. Like we were super pumped to play Echo, and we carried over that energy to play Among Us in VR chat. But what happened next was probably, I think, 5 to 10 minutes of searching through menus and jumping/loading between worlds in just a whole frustrating endeavor to add each other to our friends list. Like VR chat didn't offer any way for us to search each other's names. We couldn't even really find the same world because there was like 23,000 instances of any given world. Like seriously, man, I was like looking at the menu and be like, "Oh, hey, like my friend, do you see the black cat like as one of the levels?" And he had to like scroll and scroll and scroll until he finally sees the black cat like 2 minutes later, and is like, "Oh, mine is number 83190. Which one is yours?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know where to find the number of the worlds
Right.
because I literally just started playing VR chat, and two, there's so many worlds like they just don't sync up." Anyway, I think it was after that 5-10 minute mark where we just weren't finding our friends. One person was like, "Oh, this game is kind of giving me a headache. I need to take off the headset." I myself was just really super frustrated at this point and didn't even want to play VR chat because of the difficulty. But ultimately, it kind of disbanded the party. Like, I was frustrated enough that I was just kind of feeling drained from my frustration, so I took the headset off. And then the third person, I think they were just like, "Well, the other two left, so I'm not going to play something single player." And that kind of, boom, like killed the whole experience. Like, adding a friend in VR chat killed all the VR hype that was built through playing like an hour of Population 1. And so the question I pose is like, how do we stop that type of catastrophic hype failure from happening?
Right. Three things come to mind when you pose that question, and I guess I'll just lay them out in some order. But like, first off, yeah, there's the issue of cross-platform play, because if you work within the Oculus ecosystem exclusively, or say the PlayStation ecosystem exclusively, then it's relatively easy to tie into the party system or whatever. You make a party through their interface, and then you integrate with the API, and it just pops you right into the game. You just have to support that, and then that makes it pretty straightforward. And that to me seems like a pretty good choice. Let's see if Echo does that, I think.
As far as I know, in Echo Arena, you can't just search for somebody and add them on your friends list. For the most part, it's always like if you're in the same lobby, which VR chat follows the same rule. So when I was playing yesterday, I looked at my wrist, slide the wristwatch open, and then it brings up the iPad, and you can see your friends list, and you can see all the player list in your current lobby, and then you can see your party. Echo uses the Oculus friends list, and you can add people to your Oculus friends list. It also, you don't make a new username for Echo Arena. It just uses whatever your Oculus username is, I guess.
They have their own in-game party system, but it's pretty easy to set that up as long as you're friends with the people to begin with. And that sort of brings me to my second thought, which is if you have a lot of setup, I think as a developer, front-loading as much of that before the game and potentially out of the headset as possible makes a lot of sense. Like maybe having a website where you go and you make an account and you tie it to your Oculus account, or you tie it to your Steam account and you do your friends. Because like it's very easy to manipulate that stuff just on a computer or on a phone, and it's a pain in the ass in the headset. So having that set up beforehand, like yes, it's a barrier to entry, but it makes sure that once you're in the game, everything's just set up.
So yeah, I agree with making like front loading anything you need to do. Like if I was saying, "Oh, hey, let's play VR chat," I would as a developer either make it so that you can search people by username like in your actual game, which maybe I can, but I could not easily find the button, or it didn't, or it took too long to like load up. But either make that functionality like one or two clicks in your game, or tell people straight up like, hey, did you not add somebody in VR chat? Like go to the website and add them, or
Right.
something. Like there are people who already know each other, and I don't know, like I don't know, there's just like a really frustrating level of to this, like because you have your Oculus friends list and so on and
Hmm.
so forth. Like VR chat didn't even tap into my Oculus friends list, even though my account was linked to my Oculus account.
Right. I think there's also space there. Like once you start thinking about pushing all that logistical stuff outside of the game, you get into things like the what is it, rich locations? Is that thing that Oculus was talking about a while back, where like you can send like a hyperlink to someone, but it's a hyperlink to a spot in VR. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Kinda.
It's like I could send you a link on Messenger that you tap, and then suddenly that takes you. It's like instead of taking you to a web page, it takes you to a spot in VR chat or something where I am, which I think is brilliant. It's a paradigm people already understand, right? Like, let me send you this thing that you click that has all the information embedded in it that takes you to a place.
Yeah, that would be really sick. And I think like they're kind of trying to do that in the sense of like when you have Oculus parties, there's this new button that says take my party with me somewhere,
Hmm.
and that allows you to launch X number of games, and I assume that auto launches those games for your party members so that you all like load into the same thing at the same time.
Of course, it also all falls apart when you start thinking about cross-platform play, which is why I think we see so many. I mean, yeah, we see so many games that have their own like account system. You know, Blast On, VR Chat, Rec Room, all these games that are cross-platform. You can't just use Oculus or Steam online systems. You have to have your own servers with your own accounts, and then either in the background make an account based on the Oculus or Steam account of the person you just logged in. But yeah, I just think if you're gonna do that, you have to make it really easy to make friends with people either on the same platform or on other platforms, which is just, I haven't seen a good implementation of that yet. Maybe Blast On with the room code thing is like the simplest and easiest I've seen thus far.
Yeah, the room. God, but the
Minus the spectator issue.
right, yeah, yeah. Spectator issue aside, like connecting to someone very straightforward when they have the room code. Yeah, honestly, that is the best workaround, like the best band-aid for the issue.
Right.
If that were in VR chat where I could just make my own portal and say, "Oh, hey, try to join this specific world but enter the room code like yada yada yada," and they would get to my world, that's awesome. But I literally as we speak and like we're kind of, jumping around these different solutions, I'm reading threads from the VR chat like subreddits that are like having the same problem as me, and and other people saying like, "Oh yeah, just create a new instance of a world, have your friend join that instance." But my friend can't find this instance.
Yeah.
Well then find the popular one, and it's like, dude, this thread's from 2018. Why has this not been fucking fixed yet?
I mean, part of that is VR chat is a very messy application. Like it's just trying to do so many things and appeal to so many different people and things they want to do in the game that it's not tight in any regard.
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, definitely, no shade to the devs besides, fix the fucking friends list. But really I'm saying that from a place of love, because like I want to play your product. I think your product has value, especially in the social space. That's why I want to introduce your product/project to my friend so that they can also have that joy.
But it's not only VR chat that has this issue. It's just maybe the best example.
It's the most recent example, that's for sure. There are a lot of friend connectivity problems across many different games.
Like, I can't count the number of times when I've tried to introduce someone to a new game. It's like, dude, you got to play this VR game. It's like, all right, let's play it together. And then it takes 15 minutes to get together. And by that time, it's like when you're playing a new board game with people and you're like, I swear it's fun. You just let me explain the rules.
Yeah.
I remember doing that with Contractors, doing that with Echo for a number of people.
I would say the best rule of thumb is like treat bringing your friend into a new VR game or a VR game they haven't tried is equivalent to bringing your very well drunk friend onto a new board game that you just got, and you better have read make your preparations for that situation, right? Like, if you know you're gonna have like a fucking belligerently drunk friend, that you're gonna need to baby them on the rules of the board game. That's kind of the same thing that you got to do for VR, because when a person's in VR, they don't have all the senses that they need, if that makes any sense.
But also, you're kind of talking to your drunk friend over the phone.
Exactly. Yeah, it's as if you thought like your parents calling up and asking you like, how do I fix the iPad was bad.
Right.
Like, just listen to your fucking 24-year-old friend being like, I can't open this fucking iPad, the buttons don't work right, how do I add friends, I'm tired, I'm leaving.
Yeah,
when your parents call you, they don't fucking like leave the iPad, they like bug you till it works. This is worse.
I think devs just, if you have any modicum of social aspect to your application, then the number one priority needs to be stickiness, social stickiness. Like, I would even say the choice in Echo to force you to go through a tutorial sort of makes sense. It's like, oh, we don't want people to hop into the lobby and they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But honestly,
it's
forcing
rough.
them to do it before you can play with your friends, just like let your friends be the tutorial.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like,
dude, you already put them in the lobby. You put them in a safe environment where they could try everything out, like, after the
Exactly.
tutorial's done. So, like, yeah, honestly, just let the tutorial fucking skip if they've been invited to a game or something.
Exactly. So I think it's just a matter of keeping that stickiness of like, we have to get people together as easily as possible as the number one design priority, and then just consistently making decisions in that favor. That's how we fix this. I don't think it's like a one band-aid that's gonna resolve this issue of being able to find your friends in VR.
Yeah. Rather than it being one solution to fix them all, it's really going to have to be more like a set of best practices to apply to your project, if that's what you're looking for, right? So we talked about the room codes. Like, room codes totally help. Being able to actually like search your friends, and maybe having what BattleNet does, you know, the 3-digit BattleNet, and like Discord has like a 3 or 4-digit code next to your name. Having that would be great. And, you know, just making sure that these search things are snappy. Like, probably a big part of the time sink for the VR chat story was the fact that whenever we searched for a level or for one of our usernames, it took long enough to load, and I'm talking probably like over 30 seconds or something. It took long enough that multiple people within my party thought that the search was just kind of broken, or it just wasn't finding anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So like you were saying towards stickiness, like responsiveness too, is like, just make sure when the player interacts with something, there is a opposite reaction that happens, you know, it answers them.
Yeah, you're tapping into a larger issue, which is just combating VR fatigue in general, and doing very subtle things like that, where everything you do, the game gives you feedback of, hey, you did this thing, it's going, and it reducing that sort of mental load of like, oh, am I doing it right? Is the game working? But like all those questions, sort of soothing that also increases the amount of time you can spend in VR, because you're fatiguing much slower.
Exactly.
I think as far as pointing at one thing that could be pushed on, that would help solve the social issues in VR would be platform requirements. So Sony does this right now where if you have multiplayer games, then you have to support play together, which is if you're in a Sony party, then you can launch into a game together.
Mm-hmm.
And like it auto loads you together after, like it has to do it within one screen or like one button click or 30 seconds, something like that. And Oculus has some stuff like that, but they could be a lot more stringent. And I think that would go a long way towards unifying the experience and decreasing some of these road bumps.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, we will see this over time, of course. Like, this is still Quest is, we're on Quest 2, but still Quest is so new. And obviously they're working on the software and like with making Link better and the hand tracking better. My guess is that the Oculus Party system and the traveling with your party my hope actually rather is that we'll see that stuff get significant improvement by like mid 2021.
Having so many people on the Quest will help probably because it's such a unified platform.
Yeah, I think as we see Quest get into more hands and more people get frustrated that they're having difficulty playing with their friends, that will cause priority to trend more towards the social aspect, especially since that's what Zuck and whoever else wants to like lean on with this is like Quest, social VR. You're not going to be locked in a basement alone turning pale because you got VR.
And yeah, to that point, I wonder if the apps that Facebook is working on right now, Horizons and whatever else, if that won't do the same to the social aspects of VR, what some of Valve's games, the Lab and Alex did to found conventions or cement conventions for just mechanics and interactions.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I am now way more intrigued to like load that up when it does come out. I think I did sign up for the beta of it. I'm hoping at some point I get brought in and I get to try it out, but I would be very happy if Horizon actually brought with it a major improvement to the entire like Oculus Party system and invites and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, we'll play it and be like, oh, this is how social VR is supposed to work.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
I can't wait for Zuckerberg to make his smoked meats world.
All right, that's probably a good place to end it.
Yes. Yeah.